into a quick tutorial on how to use the Codex Social page. This page is useful in recording preferences and social data about our pilots that help to give useful indication as to the times that they're available and some of their preferences about working in a banner or working in other groups. The first item that we come across is the actual pilot name. You won't be able to change this, and this is preloaded based on your engine username. So you don't need to change this. This is already something that's set up for you as you come into the page. The next three items are listings of your primary, secondary and tertiary role and mech preferences. The roles are as defined by the Templar standard roles, and we can see that there's a quick list over here on the right hand side that you can use. The primary mech is just a quick description of the mech if you have one. That can allow you to quickly enter either something like the mech chassis code or the mech platform itself that you prefer to use. So by using the drop down, I can quickly select whichever primary role I actually want to apply. So in this case I'm going to apply Scout as my primary preference, and you can see that previously I've already set up my secondary and tertiary roles as Skirmisher and Flanker. The next item to look at is the availability times, and this is social awareness data as to when you're actually going to be available. All times are set up as per Templar standard time, so you need to convert to that time code if you're of a different time code. Now I'm Greenwich Mean Time, which means that I'm 5 hours ahead of TST, so any changes that I actually make, I have to obviously take that on board. So let's say, for instance, on a Monday I'm available from 6 PM my time, GMT. I then need to add about 4 or 5 hours based on whether it's summertime or not, as to whether or not I'm available for that specific date, which means that I would be available from 11 o'clock for, say, 4 or 5 hours on a Monday evening. So I can change 11 o'clock to have a yes indicator. I can then change the next 4 hours of the early morning of Tuesday, which would be early morning of Tuesday Templar time, but obviously my evening on a Monday time. And I can continue this to indicate, as per Templar time, when I recognise I'm actually more socially available. What I can also then do is I can identify the number of available days, irrespective of what I enter into the individual hours for each individual day within a week, as to when I actually considered myself to be available. Now this is independent of the yes and no responses that you give on an hourly basis for each day in the week, because if you can't necessarily identify specific times but you can specify a number of days, then you can use this with some common sense to either identify specific patterns or a number of days that you're actually going to be available. So if I want to be strict in this case, I could say, well, I've only really identified 2 days, an hour on Monday and 4 days on Tuesday, which realistically says that I'm only there for 2 days in terms of my availability for the week. But I could also recognise that if I'm on more casual times but can't necessarily identify for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday when I'm going to be available, but I know I'm going to be available at some time, I could obviously change this value to equal something different based on what realistically that's going to be. The next two items are the group name and the availability for a banner. The group name is then whether or not you're associated with one of the recognised banners for the groups. And available for a banner is dependent on whether or not you actually consider yourself wanting to join one of the banners, should you obviously not already be a member. And that's just a yes and no flag. The next two items are your service start date and your codex start date. And these are set up based on the first time that you actually enter your codex data into the system. However, admin has got the capability elsewhere of being able to change these, should obviously your service start date be much earlier than when your codex record started. So you will notice that they're really here only for display purposes, and you won't be able to change them at this point because they're actually controlled by admin. Comments are then the final any final kind of specific comments that you just want to record against your codex details, which could be anything that you like really. And then finally we press the record codex button to record all of those details. So hope that was helpful, and happy codexing.